Hey guys, the Edge RFC here, and welcome back to F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. It is time for the Dutch Grand Prix here at the Zandvoort circuit, the second of two new tracks onto the calendar for this season, along with Hanoi. And very much like Hanoi, this is a track that I had not experienced other than the invitational event we had earlier in the season. So took my time running my practice programs, getting myself used to the track before we get into it, and I was feeling quite confident. I was enjoying myself around this track. I was doing quite well. I was beating all my practice programs, and I felt good. I felt like the car suited this track and for me, and I felt like I could have a good race weekend. But as I say, I just had to get the practice in early and see what I could do. And yes, as you see here through these practice programs, purple on all of them, which is good, obviously, for all the resource points on the car. But yeah, that's about that. There we say get ourselves ready and prepared as we move on out of practice now. And you see the resource points that we did get in for our practice programs, up to 765 total points at the moment. Obviously the acclaim levels and things there. So let's move on into the qualifying lap then. I said the car felt good, and it showed here in qualifying. As you see at this point here, I'm up as high as 5th. Not the best corner there, so lost a bit of time to the top guys. But overall, I felt confident. I felt strong around this track. There were a few dodgy areas for me, a few of the high speed corners. Got my lines a bit wrong here and there, but on the whole, I felt really nice, really comfortable around this track, and I felt like it was a track I was gonna do well on, and I was gonna have a good race. So wanted to qualify as good as possible to give myself the best chance of some points here. And as you see, we are about to cross the line in P12 for the Dutch Grand Prix. So you see that confirmation in of us in P12, Vettel on pole, Albon and Leclerc up there with Verstappen, Bottas, Grosjean ahead of Lewis Hamilton down in 7th. So that's an interesting one, the Haas being up there and splitting the two Mercedes cars. But let's move forward into the race and see how we get on here. Now unfortunately the rain did come down. It wasn't a full wet race, it was intermediates, but I'm not normally particularly good in wet conditions, so I wasn't looking forward to this. But I get quite a good start. You know what my starts are like, there's always contact with the cars in front of me, but we got a good start up into P8 straight away from the first corner. So that was a very good start. As we move on further on this first lap here, we're having a look at Lewis Hamilton, who wasn't particularly quick. One thing I came to notice is that the AI don't seem to be very good in the wet weather. They just don't seem particularly quick at all when they've got the intermediates on. I don't know about the full wet tyres because I haven't raced in that yet, but certainly the intermediates, they seem to be very slow. And as you see here, as we get an exit out onto the start-finish straight, we're catching to Lewis here, and as we go into turn 1, round the outside, having a little look, holding on, and he tries to squeeze us off the track. We get contact on the wheels, we keep with him, and as we move forward here, we are ahead of him and into P7, and we will now start to chase down Romain Grosjean. As we come towards the end of lap 2, we are right on Grosjean's tail now, looking to get in front of him as well and claim that P6. Again, onto the start-finish straight. This is where I just seem so much quicker than the AI cars. Grosjean swerving here, there and everywhere to try and keep us out. But we get around the outside into turn 1 and we have P6. So now it's a case of testing my theory and trying to chase down Verstappen, because obviously the Red Bull car is a car that normally I wouldn't be able to chase down. He'd just be building a gap and building a gap. But again, in these wet conditions, it didn't seem to be the case. I was able to stick with him, and there was a few times where I was having a look at him, as you see here, got a little bit too close, had to pull out there so I didn't run into the back of him. Tried to switch it back, but not the best exit from myself. Didn't quite get back down on the power quick enough, and he was able to keep us at bay there. But as we move round now towards the final corner and or the final few corners, I should say, in towards the end of this lap, you see on the straight there he's pulling away again. We keep him with us here, going down into the left-hander here. Very slow, but as I said, I didn't want to lose the car in the rain. And as we come down now onto lap 6 on this start-finish straight, you see there, getting into him again, try to go round, but again I didn't want to run into the back of him, so I pulled out, took my time. I thought I'd get another chance and get another attempt at getting past him at least. I felt good, I felt quick compared to the AI, and I definitely felt like I was going to get more chances to overtake Verstappen as long as this rain continued to fall. So moving on now then to lap number 8, and we're getting closer again to Verstappen. Only 0.4 of a second the gap at this point here. It was a weird one. He kept pulling away, and then we close again, pull away, close again. Tried to go around the outside here, but again I didn't want to run into the back of him. Tried to switch it back to the inside. We get alongside him for just a moment, but he's able to hold us off, and then all of a sudden he accelerates away as we didn't get the best exit and went onto the grass a little bit there, which obviously cost me a bit of time. But I was feeling confident. I was getting chances to pass. As we move on now to the start of lap number 9, coming around turn number 1 again, closing him right down here. He's very slow through that first turn, and I just wanted to keep at it and keep my head down and keep racing. I wasn't sure how far I could get, but I was very confident of being able to get Verstappen and be able to at least get up into P5. But at this point here, he's still ahead, he's still keeping us at bay. As we come down now to lap number 10, again on this start-finish straight, see it's a little bit closer than it was last time. So went from here, but again had to pull out because he obviously covered the inside, and I couldn't quite switch to the outside, so to avoid the contact I had to just back off and let him stay ahead. Tried to get up around the outside here, but again just couldn't quite get the right line, and messed up my exit again, and he accelerates away from us. Forward now, lap number 11, coming around again on this bend, on this long left-hander, but not quite close enough. And then on the exit we get a good run, look to get up his inside, but he's able to hold us off. He's got the pace, and that was the problem we had. Obviously the Red Bull car is a far superior car to ours. And he was and obviously Verstappen himself as a driver is very good on this game, so it's very hard to make a move on him. But we kept trying, we stuck with it, and we were doing whatever we could to get in here. Obviously sticking with him here, sticking to his back. It's only a 0.4 gap at this point here. As you see, the rain has actually stopped. The track's still wet at this point, obviously still on the intermediate tyre, but the rain itself is no longer falling, which made me feel even more comfortable, because as long as the track was wet, but there was no rain falling, I felt comfortable. But as you see there, the DRS was just enabled, obviously meaning the track is now drying out, and now I was worried. I thought as long as we stay on intermediate tyres I was okay, but I wasn't confident if we switched to the dry tyres, because obviously the pace that he would have. Tried to get around the outside here into turn 1, but he's held us off, didn't get the best line yet again. But here you see here, Sebastian Vettel is out of the session. I'm not 100% sure what happened. We go around in here, and the thing is, Verstappen was actually so slow and caught up here, we got around Verstappen as well, but because of the yellow flags, that was obviously an illegal overtake, so we had to let him back through, and in slowing to do that, he had the pace again, and he just pulled away. So as we move here forward then, lap 13, coming into the little chicane here, right on the back of Verstappen. I thought I'd be able to get him on the start-finish straight as we come round this long right-hander here. I thought I'd finally get ahead here on the start-finish straight. But we were actually pitting this lap along with Giuseppe, obviously onto the dry tyres as the track was now drying out. And this is where I now wasn't feeling so confident, because we just weren't going to be as competitive on the dry tyre as we were on the wet. See me looking behind here to see if we could jump him out of the pits, but no, he's just ahead of us still as we exit the pit lane. And I was now starting to worry as well about Lewis Hamilton, because I think the gap to him was only about 5 seconds before we pitted. But as you see, he actually got jumped by Grosjean in the pit, which made me feel a bit more confident again. I was worried about the pace of that Mercedes trying to chase me down. You see here, I was still chasing down Max and trying to see if I could get ahead of him or make a move. But we had a little bit of a disaster strike here. As we said, one last proper look at him here through the little chicane towards the end of the lap. But I was actually running out of fuel. I didn't quite have enough fuel in. I just went under target fuel for obviously the rest of the race. So I had to back off into lean revs, and in doing that, it did give him the chance to pull away from us. You see, I had one last look before this happened here, but again, pulled out too early. Didn't really commit to that overtake, and then yeah, this is really when our race sort of lost its momentum, because we're right with him at this point here. But it's not far along here. I get the warning about fuel, and say we have to go down to lean revs, and just that gave him the chance to pull away, and we weren't catching him from that point there. But I was very happy with the result of the race. Obviously, being fifth place with Seb's retiree was brilliant for us in terms of the extra position we can gain. You see here we move through to the last lap, and Alex Albon takes the checkered flag. He is the winner here in Holland as we come across the line in P5. So you see then Albon with the victory, Bottas second, Leclerc third, and Jack Aitken down in ninth as well, picking up a couple of points for us as well, which is brilliant.
Cut your way through the field today. What was your strategy?
I did feel like it was the power was good for us on this track. I think it was more the AI weren't particularly good at handling the wet conditions. But I felt very competitive in that race, to say, starting 12th on the grid, which we qualified on the dry tyres, so I thought that's what I thought, battle for the points maybe. Good start in the race in terms of positions, and then the wet weather making the AI drivers not as good, the retirement of Vettel from the race. A few things went in our favour, but a fantastic result for us this weekend. As you see here, the rivalry with Latifi. We are storming this at this point here, 18 points to 9 on him, with 4 races to go on that. As we move into the team acclaim, you see up to driver level 5, nearly up to team level 8 as well, and we get 297k into the account for this weekend. As we put the activities to work as usual, only 2-day gap this time before we're off to the next race weekend, so not much to do, but we put a bit of team building onto the power department, get a little boost to that. We actually go into the R&D tree here as we have a failed upgrade on the engine, so we get that put on and get the upgrade on the chassis department as well with the roll dampers to help out the tyre wear. And as we move forward here, see the engine's looking quite worn. So taking some more components for the worn parts. Well, not taking more, but switching out the components for the worn parts. Getting some fresh ones on, ready to go before we move into the next race weekend. And just before we do that as well, I'm going to take a little look at the drivers' standings, because another points finish for us there moves us on to 25 points. And as a team, you see we're actually 4th in the constructors' standings with Aikens 2 points as well, putting us on to 27 points as a team, which is well ahead of where we should be realistically, but I'm not going to complain. I feel like I've merited those points there. I feel like I raced quite well in the wet, and even in Bahrain, I thought I did well enough to hold my own. And keep off the cars behind. As you see, there's still a few cars without any points, but Jack Aitken there with his 2 points, adding to mine, and we are, as I say, 4th in the Constructors, which is a brilliant place to be at the moment. But that is going to wrap it up for this race weekend. We will be back, obviously, for the next round in Spain, and I will see you there.